I already knew that Syria is the cradle of Christianity, and Syria has a lot of history behind it. But of course, the recent developments, the war and all the sad consequences of it, we are quite aware of what is going on. And in Italy, where we live, and in most of Europe, they have a lot of mixed feelings. They are terrified as to what is really happening. They are asking me, why on earth am I going to Syria? Isn't it a dangerous place? So I knew that it is not as terrible or as dangerous as it was before, that most of Syria is calm and quiet. Only the war is contained in some small areas. And so I was not that much afraid. My interests were in trying to reach out to the people who are suffering, who have suffered the tragic consequences of the war. 2 or 3 things that caught my eyes and attention immediately. One is the all-round destruction that you see. I was mostly in Aleppo, in the city of Aleppo, and in Damascus. I don't know, I have passed through the villages, and I was surprised to see many of the villages were empty. There was no human beings around. There was no life around. And in these 2 cities I have been, many parts of the cities are devastated. Many homes and buildings have collapsed. And some areas of the cities look like ghost town, no people living. And I see a lot of people have moved out of these cities, have escaped. And the number of Christians has been dramatically or drastically reduced. And the young people still don't see how their hopes could be fulfilled, if there is any hope at all. I see there is a slow coming back to life. Walking through the streets, I saw that some shops were being opened, and some churches were being rebuilt, some schools. Children are finding their schooling a little easier, and the bishop seems to be active in trying to reinstate the things. The places of worship and things like that are functioning. I see Caritas and other organizations, aid to church, are very, very active in Syria. A lot of people who are helping out are coming to see what is happening. I was a guest at the Chaldean Catholic Bishop's house, Antonio Odo. So I have been there basically with his community of the Christians there. And I took a lot of time to visit 2 or 3. I visited 3 schools, Catholic schools in Aleppo. I met with the students in some school, the General Assembly, spoke to them. And I went to different classes and spoke to them, either directly in English or with a translator. And the children were curious what I was doing in Syria. I'm an Indian. They are not used to seeing many Indians in Syria. I said, I'm an Indian. I live in Italy. I came here because I feel in my heart you are my brothers and sisters. I don't consider those Syrians, those Iraqis, those Indians. I consider all of humanity as my brotherhood. I told the children it's very important to prepare themselves intellectually and culturally, to resume their normal life, to help build their own country. We are all Syrian citizens first. Doesn't matter what group, what religion, but first Syrian. But we are also part of the world community of humanity. Violence, killing is against all religions, against humanity. What we try to do at this moment is unite our force, our strength, to rebuild with the resources available. And I said, I am with you. I am here to share your suffering and to give you some hope. That's the reason I'm here. We are giving scholarship to about 2,000 students in school at the elementary, and then the next school, and then secondary school. So basically that we are not helping the university students. we are helping the students with scholarships, and most of them are Christians, but there are also what you call some non-Christians, Muslim students in our schools, and we help those who are more needy. Yeah, this afternoon, or maybe around noontime, shortly before noontime, late in the morning, with the help of Riyadh, the executive director, who accompanied me kindly, and a couple of other young people working with the Caritas, they accompanied to visit Malula. I believe that is the only Christian village that speaks Aramaic. There are two other villages that speak Aramaic, the language of Christ. I myself come from a Chaldean Christian tradition in India. And when I was an altar server, I used to answer the prayers in Aramaic, the language of Christ. And for me to know that that language is still spoken, and that those villages have got so much history behind it, and how we helped 6 families specifically, at least partially, to restore their house. Well, and I met with them and talked to them and visited them, and that was a great satisfaction for me. And they were all thankful that I was there. Yes, all these places where I have been, in Aleppo, different section of Aleppo city, Damascus, as I was coming into from Aleppo, you could see very clearly the amount of destruction. And Malula, all the homes, up on the hilltops, all destroyed. And they burnt, many of the houses were burnt because the ceiling was wood. And all that was tragic. And they mentioned that many of them had gone out of Malula during this wartime until they could come back. And they are slowly trying to pick up again, trying to fix their homes. And some of them are staying in a rented home while their house is being fixed. And so I was happy. I said, we are not a big institution, our order, but we try to help what we can. Anytime any great calamity or tragedy hits any section of humanity, we, the Trinitarians, feel we must contribute our little mite. And that was the idea. I was not able to help all the homes to be restored, but our order was able to help some of the homes to be rebuilt. And that's some satisfaction.